whenever you deal with like anything that you like discover, like there's like a process you have to have. And I was just curious if you could elaborate at all on like the process, the challenges that like what is like maybe a way to put it is like what is preventing other like if I went out and bought all this equipment, right? But I have no idea how to use it.
Mhm.
But let's say I could capture it.
Sure.
Like beyond that, the process, the secret sauce of storyboard, like you turn that into something you can give to into like a product,
Yeah.
right? I'm just curious about how that process works, like from an operational perspective, because what I'm really curious about is if we kind of find a way to apply that to business for like internal communication. I want to try to kind of get a general feel for what can be done by AI and automation, and what part of that has to be done by humans, and like where does the create like what can be scaled and what is required, what is like the human touch that machines just can't do.
It's funny. It changes every day. I look at art that AI creates, and have you ever seen that really trippy stuff where it like morphs from
I've heard it's music
a
it creates.
lighthouse to
AI can create
it,
music, and
it's
I haven't seen the photos. To be fair,
it's
I guess.
really interesting. No, well,
But I believe it.
yeah, AI may catch up there someday. What has separated humans from animals is the ability to tell a narrative.
Yep.
Machines are trying to catch up, or
What is a
humans are
narrative?
trying to.
What is a narrative?
I don't know. I'm a big Joseph Campbell fan. Have you ever heard of him? I guess you can call him a psychologist, but he basically took all of he's a comparative mythologist. So he took all the stories from he took all the stories from religions, from cultures, and broke it down into certain elements. And there's a hero.
Oh,
And
the
it's
hero's journey.
Based on the hero's journey.
Oh, of course, yeah. I like the Rick and Morty format. That's what I've been using for my papers. Yeah, that's what I
And so everything that has brought us to where we are today, democracy, money, business, it's all built on a narrative. And humans have the unique ability to do that. Machines, I think we're trying to train machines how to do that. Right now, I don't know that they can. But they're learning at a rapid
Are
pace.
you sure narrative is that important though? Because here's the thing, like the narrative.
What is money?
What's
It's
that?
something we all believe in.
I mean,
That
maybe
gives
I
it
don't-
value. Same thing with religion.
Maybe explain what it is to me more. What is narrative? Like, is that just like
It's
the
a story.
order in which you put information?
Perhaps, but it's a starting point and it's an outcome. You're born in the, let's just say, the Christian religion. You're born a sinner, and if you believe, if you take this path of Christianity, you die and go to heaven. Or if you take this path, you die and you go to hell. The narrative.
That's a narrative. I'm just trying to really understand the definition of the
it's
word
giving-
narrative. I guess
it's putting you, the listener, in the hero's position to make a decision, to fight the dragon, to conquer the castle, to do whatever, to win your prize.
Okay.
And money does the same thing. Religion does it.
Have you ever used
democracy
TikTok?
does it. Oh yeah.
What narrative does the TikTok stream tell you?
So TikTok is apparently their algorithm is very good to put the right 3-minute video, 2-minute video in front of you because that's what you want to see. So
you
for
fall
me-
into other segments.
you could either get all sorts of information about like health and wellness. You could end up just being shown a bunch of girls in cosplay. You could be shown children stories. Like it's
right. So that right there, is that not somebody breaking down like asynchronous and reassembling communication in a way where people are scrolling for a while, so it's clearly interesting, right? So I feel like there is a way to, well, once again, I don't want to just make it all about business, but just in general, that's kind of just what is that? Is that a narrative? Is there a narrative that story, or
the
what is a narrative?
technology isn't a narrative. I think those pieces are a narrative.
Okay, so the machines can do it.
machines can tell you what you want to see at this point. I think machines can build a story. I think they will be able to build a story
Right.
based on what humans accept as a realistic, or
Well, I mean,
not even realistic, but a legitimate story.
Right. Well, just being more like they will be able to go through, maybe a conversation and like generate a summary, right? On Reddit, there's bots all the time. They're like, I generate this, short summary.
Yeah.
Like we have that.
Yeah.
But I guess just to walk through it, what I'm saying is if you have, this conversation right here or any Zoom or Teams call, just, show and tell that is happening over a medium that can be captured. It seems like it's quite possible to basically take that and break it down into smaller narratives and stories to make that, to make the communication more packageable and easily consumable. And then you can also do these narratives like TikTok is. So pretend that you and your organization or, the people.
I think the machines have an incredible capacity to analyze.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know that they don't have the capacity to create something that humans.
And they shouldn't. So like, okay, maybe I should clarify. Like when I say artificial intelligence, like I'm going off basically the DoD definition of AI. And it's like, actually, it doesn't really say anywhere, like people always assume that artificial intelligence, it means that like the computer is like thinking of something. But really, when you think about it, it's really any intelligence that's being artificially like improved. And look, every time you use a computer and it shows you, it recommends something to you, that's AI. You and your brain.
Whatever choice you make after that recommendation,
no, like
it learns from that.
Well, not even that. Before that,
reiterates.
it is giving you the computers, the AI that we currently have can basically, if you have a million choices to make, it can basically get it down to 3 for you, if you will. I guess what I'm trying to describe is I think it's unrealistic for us to wait for AI that will basically do like we'll actually sit there and think for us. But right now we can use AI to help us think. Including not having to watch a 2-hour lecture, but just watching the parts that your intelligence will be able to do something with. So we're like artificially inserting the intelligence into the human brain.
Yeah.
Not like that.
So like
the Elon Musk thing.
Instead of a 1,000-page book, an analogy, a 1,000-page book being created into the Cliff Notes, AI could take a 2-hour course and make it into 3 minutes and give you the points you need to know to at least get by the test.
Well, you could make it easier for you to figure out what was discussed.
Yeah.
Because like basically you could do
that's
a
what
lot
a word
with text.
cloud is in general.
Yes.
It's like, here are the most important things discussed. And then, you click into that and see here's everywhere that the word possibility came up in this conversation.
Yeah. And I think and I think that is a lot that could be useful with that, but when you actually zoom out and if you do that for like a lot of your communication, you can start looking at like your communication from a bird's eye view you've never been able to look at before. Let's say we can follow the OODA loop, but let's say generally speaking, like there's observation, which is like knowing what's happening, right? Then there's like orientation, or like what do you do with that? Does this matter, or does it, like the brain, for example, human brain, from what I hear, is very good at filtering out stuff that you don't need, right? Otherwise you'd go crazy. So like okay, so filtering out stuff that's not important.
Decision.
Right. Then you basically, so the decision one is interesting because like who makes a decision is kind of important sometimes, right? And in the case of like automation, AI.
It's always important who makes the decision.
Well,
the decision can be brought on by many people, but one person in a chain of command provides that decision.
Well, not always, but I mean, like the way organizations or just groups of people make decisions collectively is that's a whole science in itself, right? Like sometimes you just nod and you agree, right? Like the way like consensus is reached is a whole other thing.
Sure.
Like I don't want to really mess with that. I kind of want to, I think people like the human nature has that worked out. Like I actually don't, in a way I'm trying not to mess at all with human nature, but just kind of, once again, let's use all the AI stuff that exists so that when we're all working on the same objective, we don't always have to be in the room, to capture relevant information, right? Like machines could totally, at this point, I mean, think about it. I mean, you get summaries, like little snippets can be generated automatically. Like we've been generating like little descriptions of stuff for a while.
Automated Insights, a company here in Durham. I know they sold to something else, but I believe they wrote actual. So it was AI generated articles of
Yep, there you go.
sports games. So
exactly.
a baseball game.
See,
Here's
we've
what
had that
happened.
for a while.
They took the stats and then they artificially
There you go.
generated. Artificial isn't even the right word. They just generated a report
They computed
of what
it, I guess.
happened, and they put it into English language as opposed to ones and zeros.
There you go. So what I'm suggesting in some ways, do that for everything. Like if you do that for everything that you discuss in your organization that is fully in the cloud because of COVID, and that's a good way to be, like think about not only, I think the two broad things you'll accomplish. One, your people will just communicate better. And that's good because you'll, just competitively wise, you'll, it's like imagine if you couldn't search through your email. That would be kind of weird, right? That'd be nuts, right? You can't search through conversations right now. Why? Right? So once you can basically kind of take, the show and tell of video and kind of generate written copy from that is more or less consumable. It won't take you 2 hours to listen to. You can read it quickly, or you can have it be even read to you by another. You basically take the thoughts that matter, the story, the narrative, whatever that is. I'm really trying to figure out what that is that you take out. That then you can, another person, I guess it's intelligence.
Yeah.
But my point is, like, if you can disseminate the intelligence just kind of within the organization and help people like not have to send an email and ask for stuff whenever relevant conversations happen to what they're interested in. And just once again, go back to TikTok. The same way TikTok shows you those clips that people keep scrolling because you're interested in that stuff.
Yeah.
You could do the same thing, inside of an organization, but nobody has.
It used to be in an organization, you used to have to be in the room to hear what happened. And that's what meetings were. That's why you called a meeting, is so that that the people that needed to know were in the room. Now nobody's in the room. They're in a chat room. They're in a digital interface that can be absorbed. And that absorption, the visuals, not only the words that are spoken, but the visuals can be absorbed.
Yes.
As much as that needs to be, however that can be abstracted down the road. So if you're, let me back up for a second.
No, you're onto something. I mean, you're
making
a point.
So
Yeah.
you can. I was trying to glom onto the show and tell, but let me just talk about the tell. You used to have to be in the room to absorb that information. Now nobody's in the room. They're in a digital interface, and that information can be absorbed from artificial intelligence, and that can be generated into business intelligence for anybody in the organization.
Yes.
And so that's just the words that are being spoken, but then there are visuals that are being presented in some of those digital interfaces. And so all of that visual information can be absorbed and also be shared, and the matching of that, the showing and the telling in an artificially generated environment, deliverable, whatever, that has a lot of value, where you can zero in on exactly what you need to know in your role or your profession or whatever it is. There is a huge opportunity in that as a product, as a company, as something that you can use in your organization.
But will it? So it definitely sounds like it would. But what I'm curious about is, that's why I really wanted your guys' opinion is, doesn't the story, like, once again, go back to what you guys do when you tell, when companies hire you to videotape stuff for them, video record, what's the right word? Video process?
Rewind. We just sit there by the camera and keep the film
videotape
going at the right pace.
It reminds me, I have to return some videotapes. What's a story? Like, how do you tell a story? What is because if we're going to teach these machines to like generate summaries for us, we have to kind of define what that is. So, like,
well, summaries are not stories necessarily. So I think there's a difference there.
right.
Summaries are here are the bullet points that we're told, and like storytelling, I think will always be, as far as I hope it goes. Storytelling will be a human trait.
Well, that was kind of my next question is like, that's exactly what I want to get to. Like, what should we just, like in your kind of gut, what do you feel like a machine will not be able to do as well as a person when it comes to like telling stories? And now apply that to make it more complicated, apply that to video.
Jumping back to automated insights, they took data, which is how many, box scores, who had how many hits and runs and errors and whatever. And they generated what I guess they might call a story, but it's more of like a data in English as opposed to data in a box score.
What's a box score?
Box score, I was not a big baseball.
Oh, we're talking baseball. Okay.
Growing up, but it was like along each inning, what team had in terms of like runs, hits,
KPIs. We'll call them KPIs.
Sure, errors, yeah, and so
performance
on.
indicators. Yeah.
So it would generate an article. Let's call it an article, not a story. What the machines were not able to do was say Jose Reyes was troubled in the third inning because he had an injury from game 2 that he's still nursing, and he just had a baby, so he probably hasn't had a lot of sleep, and those and so he came into this game a little bit troubled, and also he's a free agent, and so it doesn't take into account that
context and like what the audience knows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So AI machines, they can create assets that give you access to information. I think they don't create context.
Going back to TikTok, how does TikTok solve this problem? Like, because like I think AI machines, computers are not good. Like, you have to basically have people and machines do it together, which sound like in unison, in tandem, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. And like, if you can break down what the actual process is, then you can actually build it out. Like, for example, on TikTok, if you upload a video, they give you a lot of like on your phone video editing function.
Yep.
You can crop, you can trim, you can add stuff. Like that's actually, I think, probably a big reason why they broke out, because they gave people a simple way to make a video look decent and also add text to it, and people just went nuts with it. Like that means there's a huge demand for that. Like, TikTok demonstrates that people want to communicate with video, and I mean, you've seen the charts. Like it's crazy. So I feel like what I think exists there is, once again, machines and people. It's like a creative process that includes machines and people, but it's broken down in a way where, like, there's also like a bigger business process. Like, a content creator creates a video, then a consumer watches the video, and then you basically let the people run loose. I think that can be done with internal communications.
TikTok gives creators storytelling techniques. It doesn't create stories for them. It gives you the ability to punch in and out. It gives you the ability to create a filter that creates a different visual reaction from the viewer. It gives you the ability to make cuts and edit and reverse and create sound effects and whatever that helps tell a story. The machine's not doing that. It's just giving the creator the ability to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's making it easy enough where people will do it.
Yes.
Yeah, because if it was just a bit harder,
but they're not making money off the stories. They're making money off the platform, off the ad revenue.
I'm actually not quite sure how they're making money. I thought that's what I heard as well, but it just seems like they would have something more creative. But yeah, sure. I mean, that's
at least a part of it.
They got eyeballs.
It doesn't cost anything. There's no subscription.
Yeah, but what's once again, going back to the video stream, I guess, I feel like that is kind of a new invention in forms of communication, because it lets a person communicate, with show and tell, in a consumable chunk at mass.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is new. Like, that's net new. We have not done that before. We've not been able to do that before. Like, sending letters or even emails. I think we're at another level, basically.
Yeah, it's like the ability to write a letter, but then let anybody else read it.
Right.
Anybody.
So, and I guess
who is interested in that sort of thing, read it.
Yeah, and for organizations that adopt this early, I'm pretty confident is going to be a
Like
pretty
I could,
big
I
advantage.
could tap
going further.
into. I would love the ability to tap into some of the strategic conversations that my partners are a part of. I don't have the time or ability to do it throughout the working hours, but when I'm told that, hey, something interesting came up in call B, I want to go check that out. And if I can search and access that information, that's very valuable to me. I also know that if on the reciprocal side of that, if their organization heard some questions that got thoughts and ideas going, they could the other organization could access that conversation and from an organization standpoint think, hey, how do we do X, Y, and Z? And so there's multiple vectors for access to that information that creates more information, more wealth, more prosperity. I think there's
You kind of become a
opportunities for
hive
that.
mind when you think about it.
Yeah,
It's like it's a hive mind.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It really was not possible until COVID put the critical mass of people not in the conference room, but far enough for us to have to use digital means. And since that moment, all this stuff is being captured, and we're not doing anything with it. And
It's being thrown away.
yeah, it was being captured. It could be captured, but
It could
and
be
then it's being
captured.
thrown away. Exactly.
And there may be some sort
Well,
of
I mean,
like,
it's being captured in the fact that it's going through the cloud. Like it could be captured and kept and
yeah,
worked
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Right now, it's just like captured and thrown
Yeah,
away.
what do they do with that data? What do they do with that data? What does Google Meet do every time we meet? Create a meeting, but don't record it?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah, well, whatever it's happening, it's probably not very good because for it to be useful,
They've got to dump it. I'm
yeah,
assuming
they're
they dump
exactly.
it.
It's hard for them to do anything useful for us because to do something useful, you'd have to have feedback from us. Like it would have to be a continuous loop.
Yeah.
Like, is this useful? You'd have to train it. So yeah, like you basically one thing I guess like you kind of have to be a big enough organization. Like this wouldn't probably be useful for companies that have like 5, 10, 30 people. But if you have like 1,000 people, and now all of you are on the same page about things, that's a super weapon. I think.
Whose responsibility is it to capture this data? Is it Google as the provider of this meeting space?
Absolutely not. Hell no. Hell no. Do not let Google like. Sorry. So
Is it the organization to press record so that they get a recording?
well, it should be in the best. It should be in the interest of the organization to capture the intellectual property and business intelligence that
There's
it
a lot
generates.
going on there, but there's privacy concerns
Like what?
that we're under NDA, and this can't go out to the public. This also
yeah, it
can't
shouldn't.
go out to the information that's captured in the meetings with me, like my associates.
Yeah, if you have a private meeting, that's a different story. But
Yeah.
majority, like, look, if you like, yeah, we shouldn't force people to have a robot record everything they say. But I think that it would be crazy not to. I mean, do you want to have to? Hey, do you want to go around and repeat yourself 20 times per day, or do you want to say something once?
Yeah.
In the context of a business discussion that other people who are helping you fight the good fight need to know.
Yes. Yeah. The asynchronicity is a key component to all of this.
And all the technology exists there. Once again, I was curious if the story, if this is storytelling or something else. But I like what you said about TikTok and he said something really short, concise about it, like curating the narrative or something. What is the TikTok stream? How'd you describe it?
I get the stories that, and I think they call them stories, but I get the video, I get the feed that I've curated for myself.
Right, exactly. So it's like I feel like there's a
And I wonder if there's that's interesting. So let's say every call that happens within my organization is recorded. And I tend to tap into things that have similar let's just say each of those conversations could have hashtags, hashtag strategy, hashtag business development, hashtag education, hashtag economics, whatever. And then there are other key markers within that particular asset. Like, so I keep accessing assets that have a more and more condensed cloud of information. As a person in an organization, I could have a feed of conversations, even just nuggets of conversations that could be fed to me throughout the day while I'm taking a poop, while I'm on lunch break,
or you're
Like-
on another call speaking yourself.
or wherever I am.
Yeah. You can paralyze
at home, at work,
dialogues, I guess.
on a drive. I could on a drive to work, I could catch up on what's happening
Yep.
through a feed of information that's being captured through a algorithm like TikTok that's curating what I would like to hear.
Yes.
And I can like that conversation. I can skip it in 2 seconds because I don't give a shit. I can comment on it. I can be like, that's a really interesting option
Yes.
especially for big organizations like Cisco. They just released a beta version of, I forget what they call it, but it's an asynchronous video tool. It's meant for internal comms and for current customer comms, not a business development tool, but
That's
an
interesting.
internal communication tool. If I subscribe to certain channels or certain people who are in certain meetings, that like if I subscribe to my boss and then the two people that I'm with most often, and then when I'm gone or on vacation, I can flip through just scroll through a couple
Yeah.
of conversations that are pertinent to my job.
Yes.
I can get I can get back from a week of vacation and be caught up in a half an hour. That's really
And that's
really
artificial
powerful.
intelligence, what
Yeah.
you just described. It's
It's
just
really powerful.
is just a kind of reverse from what's shown in movies, if you will,
Yeah.
where like the robot figures out the meaning and goes berserk while
Yeah.
in practice. Actually,
but it's
if
the
you go back
robot
to
feeding you the information as opposed to interpreting it for self and using it in its
well, it's
evil
about.
way.
I mean, really, the best example is Terminator 2. I mean, if what won in the end was human and machine working together, while the AI that was superior, got
Yeah.
destroyed. Right. So
Yeah.
like, you just have to. I really
That was 30 years ago, 2 days ago.
right. Really. Yeah, it's a great movie, but it's like it really kind of like I watched it for like the 10th time. Actually, recently I'm like, wait a second, this kind of I've been thinking about this stuff. Like this is an example of where straight up AI gets its ass kicked by a lesser AI, but that is useful to the human.
I
And
feel like TikTok could license their algorithm
it's not that complicated.
for a business application, even within its own
Yeah, but
in a business.
They don't really. There's like not. It's a pretty standard.
I don't know. From what I've heard, it's one of the best algorithms in terms of like curating content for that viewer.
Yeah, but it's only the best algorithm because they have the most data, and they have the most data because
they
they.
didn't start there.
Well, yeah. Well, the way they started is even better. They bought a set of you.
ByteDance.
ByteDance bought some. It was like basically a user base.
Okay.
So they kind of, which is a good way to hydrate it. But like, look, it's not. Once again, if you want to, like what you're describing, that hey, Justin, I think you might be interested in this video about horses because you liked horses before. Like we have that technology. That's kind of what it
Sure.
is. Now, what TikTok does, I'm pretty sure, is the way they find other similarities is interesting. Like, and once again, this is a solvable problem when you have the data. Like, you get to a point where you just need like constant feedback from humans
Mhm.
to really train the
Yes,
machine.
yeah.
That's all it is. But you would basically have to do that, but within the organization.
Yeah.
Like each organization should be doing that internally.
It
and
can be business
building.
organizations, education, government.
Yeah.
It can be anything.
Yeah, basically, I think communication has gone to another level.
But you're right. If all that information is that's gathered through video conferencing that we're all doing anyhow, if it's
Yeah.
being thrown out, then
Yeah.
we don't have the ability to access that, and we don't have the ability to leverage that for greater knowledge building through organizations.
Yeah, or once again, if you couldn't search through emails, that would be pretty stupid
yeah, that's
and
that's
silly.
a very easy way to access the idea here.
Well, yeah, you should be able to search through
Yeah.
conversation as well.